All right, so it's the What Happened to Music podcast. So, Joe, we had to shoot a special episode just for this one because we don't even know what's going on. Would you like to explain what this episode's about?
Okay, so John the other day found an article on the Huffington Post.
And we'll talk about whether the Huffington Post is valid or not.
Yeah, but the heading is Guitar Center tells employees to sign arbitration agreements or lose their jobs. And this is from 2 days ago originally.
Yeah, I mean, this is just breaking. That's why we're doing a special episode.
2 days ago being January 15th.
January 15th, 2016.
Just to let you know when we filmed this. So,
yes.
Yeah.
Right. So anyway, explain. So what's going on?
So basically, if you work at Guitar Center, according to this article, you have been told that you must sign a mandatory arbitration agreement or you will lose your job.
Okay, so what's an arbitration agreement? I think a lot of people have that question.
I am not a legal professional at all, and I would love to hear somebody in the comments explain this much more clearly than I think either of us could.
Yeah, we should probably explain. We're just we're doing our own research to try to figure out what
we're
exactly
musicians trying to figure out the law. That should tell you about how qualified we are.
I'm amazed we get paid for gigs.
Yeah, so anyway, so arbitration is a way that instead of going to an actual court with a judge through the judicial system, you would go to a third party.
So now let me get this straight. So let's say in musician speak, I'm putting on some sort of show and all of a sudden I didn't come through on a $10,000 contract. And then basically the two of us end up saying, well, instead of taking this to court, we're going to take this outside the court system. It should theoretically be cheaper. And we're going to go to a third party and whatever they say, we're going to decide. So whether that's a retired judge, and I think that's, if I've gathered that correctly. If I'm wrong, please comment that I'm wrong.
And
I don't have a legal degree.
I kind of had the impression it's kind of like an independent contractor for something else, where it's like, let's go to this third party who knows about this.
Now, the issue is, and this is what we're finding out, it's the difference between arbitration, which doesn't necessarily need to be a bad thing, right? It's two people saying, hey, instead of going to court on this, we'll have some guy hash this out.
Yeah.
This is forced arbitration, though, which is you have to sign this. And by signing this to, I assume, keep your job if you read the Huffington Post
the article says to keep your job.
To keep your job. That by signing this, you cannot sue us in court. And, and I've not seen this document that the Huffington Post is claiming to have, but they're basically saying that, as Guitar Center, you can't sue us. We're going to go to a third party to do this. Now, explain what seems weird about signing something that says, I can't sue you, we're going to go to a third party.
Well, basically, you're giving up your right to go to court if something happens, if they take away your wages unfairly, if they...
Well, I think about, if you remember the Walmart story years ago where I guess they had people, or as managers were making people work off the clock and things like that.
Yeah.
And I want to say that went to court and everything like that.
And do the employees at Guitar Center have some kind of union that you're aware of?
I do. And I tried contacting some Guitar Center employees, but everyone I know has left that place.
I want to
say there is some sort of, some places are trying to unionize. I could be mistaken about that. I don't believe the ones by me are, though. Yeah. I mean, it's with the wages that they get and the way it all works, there's no way that it's a union gig.
But try and look up more about arbitration, reading the advantages and disadvantages. It just seems to me that if it's forced by the company, it's obviously in the company's favor because they'll offer to pay all the fees, but they're also paying off this guy. And if they're not paying off this third guy, this third guy's looking at it like, this is a major company. They're going to give me more business if they're happy with me.
Yeah, I mean, everything I've read, and obviously a lot of it's with an agenda, that basically says you're not going to most likely get a neutral arbitrator. And you're really running into an issue also, I would think of, if it's not a jury deciding it, it's one person. It takes the entire idea of the American legal system out of it. Apparently this does happen in other like large retailers, but I guess Guitar Center is one of the more recent ones. So
John Demko, since you feel this way, and we live in the age of the internet, you should probably go on their Facebook page and leave a comment and see what's going on.
Funny thing about that, you try to go onto their Facebook page, and I'll gladly insert a video of me fumbling around with it. You go to their Facebook page and you try to hit view comments, because obviously this is happening and you can see people are posting it. just magically, all of a sudden, you can't click and view comments. It just sort of
Disappears.
Disappears, glitches out. You click on, oh, well,
and we tried on multiple devices just to
try
make
it on my
sure.
computer, try it on your computer.
Yeah.
Again, I have a screenshot of it. That's got to be a thing that happens with Facebook, though, because I have noticed that on certain large companies where all of a sudden there's some sort of controversy going, and all of a sudden you're like, well, I want to see funny comments and
about what the company is doing.
about the company, and just like people like just kind of going off. Now, one thing I will say, the only source I can find from this is the Huffington Post.
Or random websites that link to
the Huffington Post. The only official source that says we got them, that's willing to say we talked to this person at this time, is the Huffington Post.
Well, I find that newsvader.com is my prime source for news.
Yes, that's true. So no, I mean it is one of these things where, and maybe this is a big hoax, or maybe the Huffington Post has it wrong. I mean, the Huffington Post is, first off, it's an AOL company. It's not The Onion. It's not the Daily Current. It's not a satirical website. It's not a NBC.com.co website that will report on like fake deaths and things like that. It's not one of those websites. It's the Huffington Post. You go around, and it is the Huffington Post website.
Well, also it's interesting because the original article, it was dated 2 days ago, which was Friday. And it said that the workers had until the end of the day on Friday to sign this or lose their job.
It wasn't very clear on that.
But it said it was updated 1 day ago, but there's no update on this actually happened. Is it for next week?
Yeah. Who knows? Is it
actually real?
Is it real?
Did it happen?
And that is one of the issues where, and I can't find anyone who I knew that worked at Guitar Center, and even contact them and be like, hey, who do you know that still works there? Nobody. I mean, Guitar Center has an incredibly high turnover rate, and I get it. I used to work for Blockbuster Video. When you're working for a company that most likely or allegedly probably doesn't care about you and isn't giving you really enough money to live on, like, yeah, you're going to have a high turnover rate. It's just what's going to happen. I mean, I know people who've worked at Sam Ash for years, and yet Guitar Center, it's like I walk in there and I'm like, there's a guy I don't know, there's a guy I don't know, there's a guy I don't know. I think I recognize that guy. There's a guy I don't know. If you work at Guitar Center and you feel like commenting or messaging us, please let us know. And if you are Guitar Center, put something on your website if this is absolutely false, 100% false.
Yeah.
Go onto your website or to your Facebook page and say, the Huffington Post is wrong. I don't know why they're saying this. They have wrong information. Because you haven't done that yet. People are clearly on there posting the Huffington Post article. You normally get back to somebody within a couple of minutes. Go to your website and say, hey, this is, we don't know where this came from. We should probably talk a little bit more about Guitar Center, and a lot of people already realize this, but are you aware of everything that's under the Guitar Center banner or blanket?
To make a running joke, not until you just told me a few minutes
ago. Not until
ago.
I just told you a few minutes ago. Yeah, we do some research and some prep on this.
Yes.
Originally, it was owned by Bain Capital, which, if you remember, was
Bane, like the Batman villain Bane?
Yes. In fact, when Batman Rises came out, that was also during the Mitt Romney election, and Mitt Romney is a big investor in Bain Capital. So they were joking about, like, oh, well, they called the character in Batman Bane because of Bain Capital.
Oh, we have all of the Guitar Center symbolism back now.
I don't know if that was a terrible Bane impression or a good one.
So terrible it was good.
Feel free to comment on
that specifically.
On that specifically. But yeah, so I mean, people were, and obviously the Bane character has been around for years.
Yeah.
Apparently, the current owner is, and I'm going to assume it's from the Greek god Ares Management,
spelled
Ares.
Yes.
Right. Sometimes you see an I, but Ares, right? I'm assuming it's not Ars Management, unless they're run by pirates.
No need to be sheepish about this, Sean.
You're talking about a multi-billion-dollar conglomerate, and then of course you have kind of their musical division. So you have music and arts, which is huge on the instrument rental scene. I mean, they're the 800.
If you're a music educator,
if you're a music educator, familiar. You know music and our district, and I like music and arts. Musician's friend. So whenever you're like, oh well, and you always see people will say, oh, I'm not going to get stuff from Guitar Center. I get stuff from Musician's Friend. Same company. LMI, which is I believe the luthier company, musician.com, Woodwind Brasswind, which you didn't realize.
Yeah, which is where I order reeds from.
Which is actually, if you ever notice the exclusive a lot of the exclusive, like for instance, our MXL 990 mics. A lot of the exclusive things, like MXL is an in-house brand of Guitar Center, but you can get those at, wherever you can see those as a Guitar Center company. Also, Music 123, which I didn't realize was still around. I thought they kind of just, they bought them up and then kicked them out. And then Harmony Central, which I remember, like in early 2000s, was a great website for like user reviews. You can be like, oh, well, I want these guitar pickups. And now it's like pretty much worthless.
Yeah.
So realize all those companies are under Guitar Center. One of the few ones that aren't, Sweetwater. People seem to really like them. And trying to think, Strings by Mail isn't. It's where I tend to get my strings. By the way, this podcast makes us no money, so before you say that I'm like, being a shill for any of these companies, I'm getting nothing out of this. Anyway, so what are your thoughts other than the fact that we don't know a lot about this, but that's what arbitration is.
Yeah, with arbitration, it seems by its nature one of the big things for the company, other than they have the obvious advantage, is that it is also much more about confidentiality. It's not out in the public.
Well, that's the other thing. If I sue you and there's an arbitration agreement, I can't.
I'm surprised there's no disgruntled Guitar Center employee who's like, "How dare you? I'm going to quit now, and I'm going to go to the media and make sure they have all of this."
Maybe, I don't know. Maybe it's not that big of a deal.
Maybe.
Maybe people don't realize it though, because this is one of those things where like, oh yeah, you need to sign this arbitration contract. Oh, okay, I'll sign it. This is either a really big story to people or it doesn't really matter. I don't know. I don't really have much more to say about it.
Well then.
Comment and
especially if you have a legal background and you understand all of these things and you can tell us how wrong we are.
Hey, if we're wrong about this whole arbitration thing, feel free to
tell us.
Yeah, feel free to tell us, because if we're wrong, we'll edit.
John reads all of the comments.
I do read all the comments. And for some reason, Joe doesn't want me, when people have negative criticism, to criticize them back.
Nah.